Pop Punk and Pizza podcast is presented by Pop Punk Takeout, which is a monthly subscription box filled with merchandise from pop punk artists from all over the world. So sign up right now at poppunktakeout.com and also follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Pop Punk Takeout.
I'm going out, I gotta go. I'll bang a rang on the radio. So turn it up, I'm telling you. I think I'm ready for something new. Hey, hello, it's nice to meet ya. Hey, come in and have a slice of pizza. Hey, hello, it's nice to meet ya. Hey, come in and have a slice of pizza.
You're listening to Pop Punk and Pizza with Jacques Lamour.
Yo, what is up? Welcome to Pop Punk and Pizza. I'm, of course, Jacques Lamour, your host. Forever grateful to have you here. It's the first episode, first live stream. If you're listening to the podcast version later on, or maybe you're catching the live stream right now, whichever one you are, thank you. Yes, you can watch the episode live as it's being recorded every single Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central Time on our Facebook, our YouTube, and our Twitch accounts. And then it's available on all podcast platforms the next day. So I'm pretty excited about today's show because I was pretty captured by this band when I first was introduced to them. I think just a couple months ago. Their music video and one of their songs, "I've Been Kicked Out of Better Homes Than This," is what really kind of reeled me in because of the creative, fun nature of this music video, of this band, and their overall sound. It's not pigeonhole pop punk. It's all over the place, and I absolutely love it. Kind of keeps you wanting more or wanting to know what's coming next. So we're going to talk to, they're called a Flight Club, by the way. We're going to welcome them on, and then in a little bit, we're going to talk to Jameson Ketchum, who is the author of a book called Name Dropping. And he's also actually a publicist and a podcast host as well for Godspeed Podcast. So we'll get to him after Flight Club. So let's welcome those guys on right now. Give them a big round of applause there. Hey, guys.
Hey.
How are you?
Good. Stellar.
So let's go around the room and introduce everyone just so we know like who's who and all that fun stuff.
I'm Sam, I play guitar.
I'm Alex, I play bass.
I'm Charlie. I yell things.
I'm Harry, I play drums.
I like that. I yell things.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Singing would be doing singing an injustice.
Yeah, it really, it really would be. But what I love about you guys is that you became, or you made sure that you were prepared. You've got pizza,
That's right.
and I can't remember who it was, but they had pizza goldfish, the pizza flavored goldfish. Oh, you all have them.
We
Okay.
came to the pizza party ready to rock.
Dude, I mean, I didn't. I expected great things from you guys, but you just went over the top. So, way to go for you guys.
Over the top is a good way to express us.
Just because with the pandemic, we haven't been doing as much of the pizza part of the podcast as I would like to, and I didn't even mention to your publicist Becky, hey, make sure they've got pizza or anything, something pizza related. I didn't even tell her that. You guys just took it upon yourselves, and
Ready.
so I love it. So you're prepared.
I have a pizza tattoo on my ankle. It's the most pop punk thing I could have thought of. So.
Dude, what can we see it if you don't mind? Yeah, I'm gonna make you get up.
I'm gonna brand myself here because it's right next to my skateboard tattoo. Really, I'm just a one-trick pony over here.
Okay.
It's this guy. I don't know if you can
Nice.
see it over there. Little skateboard.
Let's see. Let's throw it up. Oh,
Yes.
there we go. A little better view of it there.
You see that?
Yeah. Okay, I see it.
That's what $20 can buy you, kids.
Only $20. Nice.
Friday the 13th.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. I've always wanted to do that, and I have still yet to do it. So was that like just this? Well, no, this last one would have been like a month ago. Was it then?
No, actually, it was probably like 5 years ago now. I think it was my first one when I moved. We're from Richmond, Virginia.
Right.
And that's where I had been introduced to the whole like Friday the 13th tattoo thing.
Okay.
And that was my first one. I saw a little pizza with a 13 dripping from it, and I said, "Yeah, it's cool, whatever."
Like any of us.
Hell yeah, man.
3 years.
Yeah, well, it was hard last
Wow.
year with COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has been a while.
Are you
That's
guys still in Virginia?
Yep,
Okay.
Richmond. I was gonna say born and raised, but I guess we weren't at all.
Oh, okay. Well, you said you said you moved, or did you say you moved to Richmond, or you moved from?
When I moved to Richmond, I grew up in the middle of nowhere, like just shy of Northern Virginia.
Okay.
More cows than people, as we like to say. So I said nope and came to Richmond.
Nice. That's awesome. So your debut record, I should say, Until the Sun Drowns, came out in July, and via Open Your Ears Records, by the way. Shout out to Neil if he's watching this. I'm not sure if he is, but he's an avid listener of the podcast, and he's a real great guy. So I'm super glad that you guys are hooked up with Open Your Ears, because they just put out some great records, including Until the Sun Drowns. As I mentioned in the opening, I just absolutely love being surprised, and you just like from the start of the record, I knew that I was going to be hearing all kinds of different sounds. So I was kind of excited as I went from song to song, kind of like, ooh, okay, what variant of rock am I going to hear like next, because it goes from like having, some of that pop punk influence. And then I forget which song it was I was listening to. And I was like, this kind of reminds me of that early mid 2000s 90s alternative grunge kind of movement, like Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, not the vocals, but like the guitars and everything. I'm like, man, like this sounds so similar to that whole movement from the early 90s, but mixed with like all-time low vocals isk, and I'm like, and see, that's my thing. Like, I've never been a huge fan of like the besides like Green Day and Offspring and Blink and those similar bands from the 90s alternative scene. I was never much for Soundgarden and Pearl Jam and 21 Pilots. Like the vocals never resonated with me. They always kind of it just wasn't my style, And so it was kind of like I said, like literally taking their sound but putting it with like I said, like similar vocals to All Time Low, and I thought, I like this now. It's like, I can do this, So I just wanted to give you my interpretation of that. But anyway, so
thank you.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Did you have something?
I was gonna say thank you as well.
Yeah.
That was kind of the whole point of it, though. Is I feel like when everyone like asks like what your favorite type of music is, especially like nowadays, like with the accents, there is just so many different kinds. To just limit yourself to one thing is not very genuine and really sucks to do creatively. And we have like 50 different bands we wish we could be, and so trying to be 50 different bands in 10 songs is not easy if they all are the same genre. So
yeah,
that was the goal, is to touch on all the things that inspire us in the most cohesive way possible. That wasn't just the same thing over and over.
Yeah, it's kind of just, you probably so when you're out somewhere at a party, at a bar, at a restaurant, wherever you are, with a friend and they're introducing you to someone new and they're like, yeah, he's in a band. And like, what kind of band do you say you're in? Do you just say a rock band? Because I feel like that would probably be the best way to explain, like, you know, uh, Flight Club. It's just all the varying types of rock melted into one.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone asked us before to describe the band in 3 words, and the first thing that came out of my mouth was Big Fat Rock. So I think I'm just gonna start saying that from now on. Whenever like, oh, what kind of band? I'm gonna be like Big Fat Rock.
I like that.
Just see what
I
I
like that.
That's
Big
it.
fat
that's it.
rock.
No elaboration.
Let's see. We got Peach Face with us.
Hey, Peach Face.
What up, Peach Face? Got a big smiley face there. And then Jacob. I always have a hard time pronouncing his last name. I don't know if it's Zabao, Zabo. But he's like Flight Club. Let's go. So
Yo, it's a Jay. I think James, you're from Canada.
yeah, I was gonna say Jacob is. I think he's from Oakrest, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
We met them at the Doors pub, which is where we're about to be back at.
Nice.
Ontario.
Yeah.
What's up, baby?
Okay. Yeah, you guys are.
We reunited.
I saw that you're playing in Chicago with. I think it's 4 Stars. I think is one of the bands.
Yeah, Barhampton, 4 Stars, and Jet Jag.
Jet Jag.
And I think another one just got added to that show. I thought today.
Really?
I thought it was Joystick, but let's see. I'm trying to remember where I saw that show.
We're excited because some of our label mates on Open Your Ears, Guardrail, are from up there. We were hoping that they were going to get added to the show, and so I got a little excited when you said that. But I'm not going to get too ahead of myself. But we're hoping to hang out with Guardrail while we're up there. Is that where you're from?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, snap.
I'm just south of Chicago.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh, maybe no. For some reason I thought I saw.
It might have been the.
Might have been a different show I saw, but no. It like you said, it's Farhampton, Jet Jag, and 4 Stars.
I think 4 Stars just got added.
Yeah, 4 Stars is the one that got added.
Okay.
I think.
It might have been yesterday, honestly.
Yeah, it could have been. But in case anyone is near Chicago and wants to go to this show, it's happening Saturday, October 16th at Burlington. 21 plus show, 8 p.m. So it's bound to be a great show.
Yeah, we had some shows in between Virginia and Chicago. We're going all the way up the East Coast, up to like Massachusetts, and then out west toward there. So we might be coming to you.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm going to try to come out to that show because I would love to see you guys play and see because you're so energetic in your music videos. Like I love that you just I watch a lot of music videos obviously because I get, emails pitched to me all day long, and I'm not saying that to boast. It's nothing to boast about. It's just that's the facts, right? So I see lots of music videos. Some are so-so, some are great, some are amazing, some are spectacular. And I think you guys are in the spectacular category because you just bring it up a whole notch. And it's like, if you didn't know any better, I mean, you would say like you guys are like the biggest band in the world just by the production value and the performance that you bring to your music videos.
Fake it till you make it.
What's that?
I said fake it till you make it.
That's true.
Shout out to Altamira Film Company and Spencer Ceaser, the 2 people that we worked on with all of our music videos. Oh, and Rachel Reinhardt and Ian Hurdle. They did our comeback video. We're very lucky. We got put into contact with a lot of great people who really just know how to put the extra mile in there. Harry's big, beautiful brain. He just has the visuals in his head, and he gets to pour it all out over the music videos. And I think a big part of it was, kind of like you said, like our live show, we really put a lot of ourselves into. And I think a lot of people will listen to our music and, have their thoughts, whatever, good, bad, whatever. But then when they come and see us, I think they really get it. I think it really all falls into place. So It was kind of Harry's idea to be like, well, we're not playing shows over the pandemic. We have all this new music. How are we going to show people who Flight Club are without being in front of them? And that's where the videos came in. So thank you, man. It means the world. It means we're doing something right.
Yeah, you're welcome. I just remember, getting the email from your publicist months ago and, showing me the video for I've been kicked out of better homes than this. And I like laughed out loud watching this video. I'm like, wow, like this is hilarious, but so awesome at the same time. It's just pure energy and just having fun, and totally kind of bringing that rock star presence as well, but still not in a snobbish way. I feel like a lot of people say rock star, but it comes off in a snobbish way, but I don't mean it in that kind of way, just by, like I said, how well it's done. And I was also trying to figure out, I've been kicked out of better homes than this. That's a line from a movie, right?
Sorta.
It's from
You're warm.
It's from Chappelle Show.
Chappelle Show. Okay.
It's when
I knew.
Rick-
I was like, I read that. I was like, that's from something. What is it from?
It's when Rick James gets kicked out of Eddie Murphy and Charlie Murphy's house, and he's like, his legs like don't work because they beat the crap out of him. And he's like crawling out of the house. He's like, I've been kicked out of better homes than this. And we're just in the studio. I think I brought up as like that'd be kind of funny to call it that, and got away with it.
So that was, were you guys like, was one of you just watching Chappelle Show and thought that'd be great for a title, or
I
like?
think Sam has showed us that skit at least 200 times. So,
And it's still fun.
It's
Peach Face says you guys are the best rock band on the East Coast, which is
So
that's quite a
Peach Face
compliment
is
there.
Metal band on the East Coast.
yeah, if you're not doing a wall of death to Peach Face, then I don't know. You're missing out.
Becky says agreed. Much love, Flight Club. That kind of rhymes, doesn't it? Much love, Flight Club. I like that.
Thanks, girls. We were just hanging out with them.
Oh, okay.
We might know them. I think. I don't know.
I mean, whether you do or not, it's just awesome that they're hanging out with us right now and
they're great.
and watching you guys. So with Until the Sun Drowns, what else is? How did all the instrumentation come together for this? Because I feel like just because there's so many different songs and different feelings, and I imagine it's got to be, to me it sounds, from a creative standpoint, it could be kind of hard to get this all together in an album, in one cohesive record. It's a lot of work putting together an album, obviously, and I would especially think in this case with so many different styles of rock going on.
Yeah.
I would say we started off with maybe like just making a internal playlist of like maybe all of us chose 5 songs that we wanted to at least touch like at least one part of each song somewhere on our album, or what's inspiring us to make an album for the month we were in the studio. So that's probably the start of it, knowing that we had a playlist that really jumped all over the place, and maybe that kind of got us started to branching out and like making everything cohesive and blending together from that original like 30 of our favorite songs type of playlist into our 10 of our own.
We owe a lot of it to Will too. Our Will Beasley produced the record, and he was patient with us being all over the place with styles and bringing it all together, and us not being too frustrating with like how broad of a spectrum we wanted to do. He really helped kind of like corral us into a organized fashion.
Because you could be in like a certain mood and working on a certain song, and it's just not clicking at that moment, and then just check out the next demo, and it's a completely different style of rock, and it just re-inspires everybody to get started on another project right there. So we were definitely like hopping from song to song, demo to demo for the first few weeks in the studio, and then once it felt like it was all falling into place was when the extra details and the small things to make it sync together fell in together.
So what was the first song that came out of the gate that kind of lit the flame for this record?
It's kind of a hard one because
We had a ton of demos, but the first song we did was Dust Bunny, which is the
Okay.
fourth track on the record.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fourth.
Is hard.
Oh yeah, we added. I forgot we added another grid on there.
Yeah, it's fifth.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, that was the first one we worked on in the studio with Will. But going into it, we had like 30 plus demos, I'd say.
Wow. Okay. So you
And-
guys really worked your asses off.
Yeah, we were excited. We had just released our previous EP, Recreational Love. It was our first release through Open Your Ears. I think that was the first release, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the first official release. And with that, it's like it was hard work, but it's also like that's like the easiest part is because you want to just like be cranking out ideas. Yeah, it's a lot of ideas, but you know, it's almost like a race, like with just like being like, how many good ideas can I get that I'm excited about and want to work on? So it is like a work in a sense, but really it's just a thing of passion and wanting to do it.
We're very excited rolling off that release to jump right back into the studio. So it was all fun.
And then literally jump into a van and, you know, shoot a music video. Was the van moving during that video?
Not when we were inside it. No.
Not when you were inside it playing? Because I was like, man, that would be epic if they were. I mean, it's still an epic idea, an epic shot, but obviously it's made to believe that you're playing in this van while it's driving around, you know.
Yeah.
So
We tried. We wanted to.
If it had been our van, that probably would have been the case. But we borrowed the one from a friend, and so we felt pretty inclined to just make sure everything stayed as it is. Amount of damage to it.
Especially since we were throwing syrup and sprinkles on each other.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So before if you guys are cool with it, I do want to play that video for I've Been Kicked Out of Better Homes Than This, if you're cool with that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, cool. But before we do that, where can everyone find you on social media? And do you want to kind of list off any of those tour dates we talked about earlier?
Yeah. So all of our social media across the board is just Flight Club VA for Virginia, and that's Flight Club with the L. I thought you weren't supposed to talk about it jokes all the time. So Flight Club VA. You can find us anywhere on social media. We are playing Blue Ridge Rock Fest in a week. If you're local to Virginia, there's a ton of awesome like hard rock bands playing it, and we'll be there Sunday. Shortly after that, we're hitting the road from the 8th through the 16th, going up from Virginia all the way up to Massachusetts, hitting every state along the way, then hopping out to Chicago. So come see us if you haven't yet. I think we put on a pretty damn good live show.
Hell yeah. Awesome. Well, congratulations, guys, on the release of Until the Sun Drowns, which is out now via Open Your Ears Records, which you can go to OYE Rex, which is RECS, not like with a letter X, .com. And you can find the link to the store, and you can buy, you know, physical copies, or just stream the hell out of it on, you know, on Spotify or Apple Music, right? So, yeah, let's get into the video, and thank you guys so much for being on Pop Punk and Pizza.
Thanks for having us.
It was great meeting you, and yeah, hopefully I'll see you in Chicago. I'm gonna try. I am really gonna try to make it out. I can't promise, but I'm gonna try. So, and if I do, I'll definitely connect with you guys. So
yeah, let us know ahead of time. We'll get you on the list.
Cool, man. Thanks so much.
Ice cream truck! Oh, shit! How'd you get that? Woo! Oh, come on! Fuck yeah! Hell yeah! What's up? Oh, God. Can I get that one? Dude, thanks, man. Yo, you got any sprinkles in there? All right.
Mate, this is my last one. Get the fuck out.
self-destruction and it just won't quit. I got some nervous, nasty habits that I'm living with. They got me bending over backwards in the mirror again, staring eye to eye, trying to read between the lines. Eye to eye, trying to read between the lines. Eye to eye, trying to read between. Self-destruction and it just won't quit. I got some nervous, nasty habits that I'm living with. They got me bending over backwards in the mirror again, staring eye to eye, trying to read between the lines. Eye to eye, trying to read between the lines.
All right, I've been kicked out of better homes than this by Flight Club. Let's give those guys another round of applause. If you haven't watched the music video for that, if you're not watching the video version of this podcast right now, you need to look up Flight Club on YouTube and find that music video, because it's literally has become one of my favorite music videos to watch. But their brand new record, Until the Sun Drowns, out now via Open Your Ears Records. Before we get to our second guest this evening, just a quick reminder that we are presented by Pop Punk Takeout, which is a monthly subscription service. They deliver merchandise from pop punk artists from all over the world. They deliver it right to your door in a takeout box. You can get it delivered literally in a pizza takeout box or a Chinese food takeout box. And for this month, September, I believe pre-orders are still up for it. Their box is centered around smart punk records. And one of the main artists that's being featured is Chris DeMakes, who's best known for Less Than Jake, but he also has released a solo record through smart punk and a book as well. So I'd imagine there might be some of those goodies in this special box. So you can sign up today at poppunktakeout.com and also follow them for updates on social media, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram at poppunktakeout. So our second guest this evening, we have Jameson Ketchum, who is a publicist, also a fellow podcaster, and an author as well. He just wrote a book called Name Dropping, and actually the official title is longer than that. Let's see if I can get through it. Name Dropping, Seeking Creative Truth Through Trendy Altruism and Punk Rock. It just came out this past June. So let's welcome Jameson onto the podcast. Welcome, man.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for being on. How you been?
I'm doing great. I should say thanks for saying the entire title as well.
Yeah, it's like I figure most people and even yourself just probably just say, "Oh, name dropping," because I mean that's what's going to bring the actual book up, right? When people type it in, I imagine, like to Google or if they're wanting to read it on Kindle, I imagine probably just type in name dropping and it comes up.
Yeah. And I think, thankfully, my name is unique enough as well. It's not, by Bob Jones or something. So
that's true. I don't know any other Jameson Ketchums, so
I should hope not.
Yeah, that works out well for you. I apologize that it took me so long to get back to your emails and stuff, but I was, interested because even the title alone, I was like, it made my head turn. I'm like, what is this really about? What are we going to talk about? Because, and just from reading your background a little bit, it sounds like you have a pretty collective experience in the music industry, not only from being a publicist, but you're also a podcaster as well, and obviously writing books. I think this is your second one, right?
Yeah. The first one was kind of a college experiment book of can I can I finish a thing and put it out and have it make sense. But yeah, this is the first that feels really official with a publisher, with a clear directive, a clear story. But yeah, it's my second one, and you're right. Yeah, I feel like I probably, like a lot of people out there, tried everything in the music industry. Tried to adapt. I was a music journalist for years, and then I was like, man, I'm so tired of transcribing interviews. And then podcasts came along, and you're like, perfect, I can do this. I can still do this.
So let's start at the beginning. Like, when did music start for you? Were you a player as well? Did you play in bands too before you became a journalist, or?
I have zero musical talent whatsoever. I always tell people that I tried to play guitar, and I think through doing interviews lately, I realized I really didn't try at all. It was more of like getting like a book that was the most dumbed down, here's how you play guitar, and trying to learn a chord and giving up by saying like, well, my hands are too small. It's just never going to happen.
I'm not going to lie when I say that's one of the reasons I love punk rock and pop punk so much. It's because it's usually so simple. Not all of it, though. There's, the more complicated stuff that I can't play, but that's why I ended up playing it myself in a band for so many years, is because the power chord was my thing. I could do that easily, and I couldn't do all the other complicated chords or play solos, so I just played power chords.
And I don't think I had any like idea of that type of playing or that type of thing when I was young. In fact, a couple of months ago, I was telling a musician friend that I was like, hey, look, like I can play, this was the one note that I learned before I completely gave up. I can play a C, and I did it. And he goes, that's not even it.
Bro, that's a G. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a G minor 7th or
yeah, I got
whatever.
nowhere.
Yeah, and you're like, oh man.
All those years.
You're like, this is a C chord, everyone. And it's like you're probably thinking, man, I showed that to so and so from that well-known band. It's like, oh, I can play a C chord. See? And,
yep. I was like, hey, yeah, Burt McCracken, check out my C chord. I could probably play with you someday. I'm on my way.
Okay, bro. Okay, sure. Yeah. So when did you? Obviously, you were probably a music fan from high school or even before high school. What got you into just being a big fan of music?
Yeah, I think like if I really try to think back, the furthest I can go. Well, I mean, for one, I remember my mom listening to Neil Diamond when I was a little kid. The song "Coming to America," and just thinking like, this is just like the heaviest thing I've ever heard. Like this is rock music, There was just something, about that like pump up.
Sorry,
I still love it.
I have to laugh. I just think that's so funny.
Oh,
it's so great.
It's so I listened to that song the other day because I hadn't heard it in years, and I was like, yeah, this is like, I'm still getting jazzed by this song. But as far as something,
hardcore, man.
Yeah. As far as something I think that was like my own, I mean, it's definitely like early Green Day, and then MXPX was like the first band that I ever got. I'm wearing an MXPX hat right now. How ridiculous!
Oh yeah, I didn't even notice that until now.
Yeah,
how I missed that.
So I think that was the band that was the first one that was like, I didn't get it from an older sibling or a friend or anything. It was just like, oh, this is mine. And now I'm really, really obsessed with it. And I can't really explain why. And it's funny, I just bought this hat a couple weeks ago, and I was like, man, like I've been listening to that band since, I don't know, I was in 7th grade. I mean, so 20 some years. So it's super weird to be that old and then to think, oh yeah, bands have been in your life for that long consistently.
Yeah, it is a weird feeling. I think for me, I think I was introduced to them like in 99 maybe, and I was 9 years old, and I'm 31 now, so yeah, that's I'm bad at math,
pretty
but that's I was going to say that's about 20 years, right? Somewhere around there. So yeah, it's a weird feeling, like you kind of grow up with them,
Yeah.
And they grow up with you as well. So
Yeah.
it's a really cool experience. But anyway, so when did journalism come into play for you in college? I take it.
Yeah, I think I started to really enjoy writing in high school, but I didn't know what to do with it or what that meant. I don't even think I told anyone. It seemed like an embarrassing thing for some reason. In high school, I don't think I even told anyone that I enjoyed writing. English was always the subject I was just the least bad at. It wasn't even like I really enjoy this. It was just this comes kind of easy. So I think in college, I just started to try to figure out, can I write for how do you get, just like any job, how do you get started when you have no experience? Why apply to things and say, hey, I have nothing for you to read, but I'd really like to write for you. So college, I think I just started writing for like real small blogs and stuff. And I worked at the university a lot, but I would just research bands. I remember starting like MXPX. I don't even know what this was, but like I thought, oh, what if I could write a book about my favorite band? Like that totally doesn't make much sense.
Did you really?
Today
did you really? Did you write? Did you start writing a book on MXPX?
Yeah, I think there was something that I enjoyed just physically about writing and writing physically and typing physically that and it was a time killer for having a boring job and being stuck on a computer. But I started to write one, and I remember thinking like, this is going to be this is just going to be one person's like, here's why they're great and here's how I found them. And like, of course, totally worthless and boring.
I wouldn't say it just depends on, I guess, what you go from. How far did you get on that?
Oh, I mean, a couple paragraphs.
Do you still have it?
Oh no, I wish I did. The book name dropping is really like probably the evolution of that little project I started.
Oh, okay. That would have been interesting to like go back and read that and like, or even include a snippet of that in your book and be like, so just as
that would have been great.
Yeah, definitely.
And it would have been before I ever saw them play live. It would have been before like meeting, like it was just purely a fan. Just like, here's why I think they're great. I bet people want to read this.
Yeah, because I mean, you've interviewed the band, or I think at least Mike Herrera, right?
Yeah. Everyone in the band and Mike a handful of times. I was lucky enough. I talk about this in the book, but like, I love the idea of like full circle moments. Just something that you hear people say, if you would have told 15-year-old me, blah blah blah, I would have been so excited. But to go and be in Mike's studio and be interviewed on his podcast, Mike Herrera Hour.
That's what it was. Okay.
Yeah. So like, not only to like, I think I started with goals of just like, if I could ever see some of these bands that I'm obsessing over, wouldn't that be great? And then you see them and you're like, well, what if I could ever meet them? And it kind of grows from there. And I think that's what drove me throughout all of my journalism career, was just how far can I take this? Can I meet or work, or maybe in some cases work for somebody that I've looked up to for years and years? Like, is that, I don't know, it feels like a weird kind of fantasy or a weird dream to say, how close can I get to this person that I think is like so far from me and so like untouchable in a way?
Yeah, it's a pinch me moment. Like you said, it's full circle. Like you're on his show. It's not he's on your show.
Yeah.
Like it's the other way around. Like that had to have been such a blind, and I probably listened to that episode and didn't even realize it. Because I've pretty much listened to all the episodes, or most of the episodes of, Mike Herrera Hour, and now, Mike Herrera podcast. And how did that come about? How did you land that gig, that spot?
Yeah, and I really wasn't pitching for it or anything. I had written, I had done a little bit of work for Tumbledown for his kind of side project, just some like press work, and it wasn't even something where I was directly dealing with him at the time. But through that, he gave me a call and asked me to write their bio for their Plans Within Plans album when that came out.
That was a great record.
Oh, I have it on vinyl right in front of me, and it's so underrated. It's such a good record.
It is. Yeah, it is.
I don't know why it didn't get more attention, but
Well, I think, and probably Mike probably has even said this at some point. I think it was just the people that were behind that record, or
Yeah.
the management at that time, probably.
Mhm.
You know, because that was before the days of Tom, right?
Before Tom joined.
No, not the. No, oh, right, not
Oh.
not the guitar. No, not Tom Wisniewski. Tom, their manager.
Oh, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was like right before, or maybe they just started working together, or something like that. But
I think.
yeah, there was.
Yeah, I think so.
It's just different times. But anyway, that's besides the point. So anyway, so you were helping the campaign for that record.
Yeah, I was just doing some writing stuff for that, and just through that we had a lot of conversations and a lot of talks about kind of where MXPX had been, what their career was looking like at the current time, and it was all stuff to me as a fan that was just like, it was so cool to hear and to have like any small fingerprint on anything that they had done. I thought that's full circle. Like, that's pretty amazing to just like be this, so close to touch and do something creative with people I consider to be really creative. So I think he had thrown out a couple times about me being on the podcast to talk about journalism and publicity. And I'm sure it was like such a throwaway thing for him, but I was like, I'm going to bother him. I'm going to bother him until this happens, because wouldn't that be great? And then the band that I was touring with, Fallstar, they were playing up in Bremerton, and I was like, oh, this is like fate. It's gotta be the time. So I went up with them for a show, and then broke off and went to Mike's, and I'm sure embarrassed myself several times while I was there.
Yeah, right. How could you not? I mean,
oh yeah,
you're in Mike Herrera's studio, his hometown. I mean, that's just once again a pinch me moment. Like, is this really happening kind of thing?
Yeah, I remember sitting at the table, like in the kitchen, and he's got this giant Life in General, like poster board thing taking up a whole wall. And then right behind me was like the Platinum Slowly Going the Way of the Buffalo, like framed right behind me. And yeah, I'm just like, yeah, like hearing I'm Okay, You're Okay was probably probably the second song I ever heard by them from that album. And so, yeah, I just love those, not only the full circle thing, but I think we just get so jaded with this type of stuff, especially if we work in the industry, that I was like, I don't really care if I seem a little silly right now. Like, this is awesome. Like, I want to enjoy this. I don't want to act like it's not a big deal,
Yeah. No, absolutely. You have to enjoy those little moments, because that's what life is all about, right? It's just enjoying those little victories, those wins. And if you ask me, that's not a little victory. That's a big victory. And in my eyes. But I guess we should probably go back even a little further than that, because I'm assuming, like, does name dropping the book you just wrote and that's out, that everyone should go read right now, do you start at like your first, journalism gig? Like, where does the book start?
Yeah, I kind of start, the first chapter is a little bit of a teaser of something that I kind of go more in depth about later. But that has more to do with touring. That has more to do with touring with a Christian band and kind of seeing some weird faith-related stuff on the road and not really knowing how it computes to this day, really. But beyond that, no, I start with kind of talking about the way that I grew up and growing up going to church, and then getting into how impactful music was to me at a young age that led to everything I'm doing now, but also the sort of Christian music versus non, and what each of those do or don't do for you. And so I start pretty far back with, like, getting into stuff like DC Talk or the Newsboys, stuff that was just considered this is really safe. And I said Neil Diamond earlier, but we used to listen to DC Talk, Jesus Freak, every morning before school to like get pumped for the day. And it's such a thing. It's such a funny thing, of course, now. But I think now that I'm also past the jaded stage of, hopefully, of working in the music industry, that I can appreciate like what that stuff really was, and how impactful it was. Like, I wouldn't as cheesy as that music totally is, I wouldn't be where I am today without having been like really into it at a time, you know?
Right. So, like, in your mind, what is considered to be Christian music? Because you kind of just went over that a little bit, like what's actually Christian
Yeah.
and what's not, or what's, so like in your eyes, what is Christian music?
I'm definitely now way more in the camp of like it, not that it doesn't matter, but that the label is just so terrible. I mean, when
Yeah.
when I was a kid, it was just an easier way to distinguish things, and I know I still use it now. I feel like I use it with people that I know the difference or know what I mean. But now I would consider that like the easiest thing being like worship music or something that's just really coming out and saying like this is what this is what it's for. Versus in the old days, you had to be like, so oh well, they're on Tooth and Nail, so they're a Christian band, and there was always a big debate, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The debate about that stuff is really funny. It's weird to think of now because I think it's a little more cut and dry now.
Yeah. Because I mean, so many bands that were on Tooth and Nail were not Christian bands.
Right.
Including, I mean, MXPX never labeled themselves as a Christian band, if I'm correct. I mean, I could be wrong on that, but I feel like you would be more of the MXPX expert than myself, you know. But yeah, it was so strange to come across some of those bands and be like, oh yeah, they're Christian because they're signed to Tooth and Nail.
Yeah, it's gotten even weirder since then. I mean, the fact now that Under Oath, will say shit in a song, and that's so to that seemingly to them, and then to fans as well. That's so blatantly over the line of it can't be Christian music. And I know that there's a whole thing with Under Oath, but it's just funny that to look back and realize that we were like setting up these rules for what was and wasn't Christian music, and the title of Christian music is problematic to begin with, but we were setting up, I don't know, I saw their drummer smoking a cigarette after the last show, therefore not Christian. And it's like, well, but somebody else at my church might not care about, it's just none of it makes any sense at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's why I remember I think it was with, I was having a conversation with Randy Winter from Red Jumpsuit Apparatus. And, some people have, and including myself, I've thought and understood that they were a Christian band, but it sounded like he himself, they don't like to actually use that label. They consider themselves to be more, he said, more spiritual. And I think part of that is one of the things you just said about, oh, well, so-and-so was smoking a cigarette after the show. Like, stuff like that. Because I don't think they're not anti, they're okay with people drinking at their shows and things like that. But they're spiritual and they love God and they're, they are Christians themselves. But I think, they don't like to, and I could be wrong on that. But I think that's kind of what he was saying. Like more like they're more spiritual than, being, and maybe that has something to do with what you're talking about too.
Well, it seems safer to me. I've had Ronnie on a couple times, and he's such a good dude. I always knew a handful of their songs. I never, I guess, got so into them that I picked up on any cues about spirituality. But I remember him saying like that. I feel like when they came out, they were okay with that label, or they would have called themselves that. And then stuff like Face Down got really big and kind of took them in that direction. And he was like, man, if people were paying attention though, like they shouldn't have been surprised. Like if you listen to my other, our other stuff, you really shouldn't have been shocked when I said I was a Christian.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, most people know that, they know the whole Face Down record, or the record that Face Down is on. They know that, and there's several lines in there. There's several hints of
Mhm.
like his relationship with God, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like you said, why is it a surprise?
Yeah, and I think if I was in a band, I think if I knew more than the C chord, which I know very well, I think I would go the other way, where instead of coming out and saying yes, we're a Christian band, and then letting people analyze what we're talking about when it's not faith related in their eyes, I'd rather not say anything, and then when I sing about God or sing about faith, that's kind of par for the course for most bands. I mean, unless you're, exclusively singing about breakups, whatever, most musicians are going to cover like the big things in life. So
Yeah.
Even when I hear like a band that's not, hasn't labeled themselves as a Christian band talk about Christianity or Jesus or whatever, I don't ever think, oh, well, maybe, maybe they're Christians now. I just think that's a big religion, of course. It's another big thing in your life you're going to talk about.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It makes it, I don't know. I guess it goes back to one of those things that's opinionated, and everyone has their own way of doing it. But I'm curious to hear what your experience was, though, touring with Christian bands, and which ones did you tour with, and what were some of the things? Like you said, you saw some interesting things or some weird things.
Yeah.
What in the world did you see while on the road with these Christian bands, and how did you wind up on the road with them? What were you doing for them?
Yeah, so the band that I traveled with primarily is Fall Star. They're on Face Down Records right now, so they're still going strong. But they would tour on packages with bands like Sleeping Giant, The Glorious Unseen, The Chariot, August Burns Red back in the day. So how that came about, though, was I was writing for some different publications, just real small stuff. I was in college still, and I had just gotten to know those guys through the local scene here in Portland, Oregon. And I remember thinking, like, if they ever go on tour, like I would, like try to figure out a way to ask them if it would be okay if I went, just so that's like a bucket list thing. Like, even if I went out for a week, to say, because I was just such a music nerd, to be able to say, oh, I went on tour, was just like, yeah, I just thought, oh, if I could ever say that, how cool. And so they knew that. I think they were I think it was pretty obvious that I wanted to do something like that with them.
Sure.
And I had connected them at the time with this clothing line that was setting up a tour. So I think they also felt like they owed me a little bit as well. And they're like, okay, yeah, you can go. And that turned into many, many more. Especially the first few tours, after a while, someone in every state, you get floors to stay on and all that. The first one, you don't. The first one is just primarily Walmart parking lots, sleeping in the van, sometimes sleeping just outside of the van in bark dust. It was, just the worst conditions, to where you're like, this is terrible, but I know there's an end in sight, and, I'll have such a great story afterwards and all that.
Yeah. So back up though. I got to hear, do you have any interesting stories of Hotel Walmart? Because I've had a few from over the years of just incidences that have happened at Walmarts while I stayed there in their parking lots. So, like, for you, do you have any interesting stories while sleeping in Walmart parking lots?
Oh man, So when we'd be with other bands, we would try to do a circle the wagons thing, where you circle all your vans and your trailers up so that you could sleep in the middle of that circle, and you'd feel protected. You'd feel like you're close enough to your gear. That was kind of the ideal situation. There's overnight Walmarts where they don't mind if you sleep there, of course, but they don't like people sleeping outside of their vans.
Right.
So yeah, which we'd find out every night pretty much, and still do it. But
yep.
But they would always, in the morning, they would always send out, it was like they were sending out their intern, or like they'd send out like the youngest person or the oldest person who worked there. You could tell someone just like drew the short straw to be like, no, you go talk to him. No, you go talk to him. So we'd get some like, whatever, 16, 17-year-old kid that was like, hey guys, you're not allowed to sleep out here. And a lot of the first couple times, I remember hearing the guy and being like, I'm just going to pretend like I'm still asleep. Somebody else can deal with it. And then later somebody would be like, oh yeah, that's what I was doing too. Oh yeah, that's what I was doing too. So people would just ignore the kid, and sometimes they just go away. But it was stuff like that. It was stuff like, we were always really respectful. We wouldn't, try not to go, pee in a corner somewhere if we tried to actually go into the store, but not all the bands we were with would follow those same rules. So
of course not.
Kicked out of plenty of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, continuing on with your the rest of the story. I just had to hear.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that's 1/10 of the weird stuff that would happen at Walmart. But
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'll try not to give away too much just because this is the beginning of the book, but like there were some bands that we were out with that were very charismatic and very about healing, and some stuff with like demonic possession as well. So we saw some really strange things that I, to this day, still talk to my friends about that were there, still debate if it was real. It challenged like everybody to like kind of rethink their whole structure of belief, because we were sitting there saying like, well, yeah, we're these Christian dudes and we're out here like trying to, like spread this message. Yet we'd see something like somebody get healed and we'd be like, no, that's not real. That's not legit. So it was this big challenge to be like, all right, well, what do, if we're all in, we should be all in and believe this very weird stuff we're seeing. There's guys, I talk about this a lot in the book, but Tommy Green from the band Sleeping Giant, where that dude will just pray for anyone, any healing, anything you got, without like any hesitation, without any sort of like, well, I don't know if like that's going to get healed. He's just so all in. So as much as you might start to think, man, I don't know if I believe the same way or to the same extent, you're still just like, man, but like good for him. Like I admire the heck out of anyone that's that all about it, I guess, and that confident in it. So no, I mean, we saw again what I believe, I think, to be people being healed from sicknesses, from broken bones. There was I talk about this in the book, at least one possible demonic possession. It sounds so weird to even say.
So was this at a show? Like someone was possessed at a show, and one of the dudes from the band healed this demonic person?
This girl talked about how she was at a different huge Christian festival a few days before, and she had seen someone like get healed from a possession, and she was worried that like something kind of hung on to her, I think. It wasn't, the thing is, it wasn't any sort of like movie thing where she was flailing about or anything like that, or talking in a weird voice. Like that's certainly what I expected.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it wasn't anything like movie like that. But still just some pretty unexplainable weird stuff to where, Tommy and this guy, Chad Johnson, who was on the tour, he used to work at Tooth and Nail. They just prayed over her a bunch. And later when I talked to Chad a few years later, I was like, how did you have like that confidence to do that? And how'd you know what to say and all that? And he's like, oh, I had no idea what I was doing. He's like, I just kept praying, like, help me figure out what to say, help me figure out what to do. I don't know if any of this is real, but I'm gonna keep trying to help,
Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah. Still don't know what I think about it years later.
I don't know what I think about that either, honestly. But once again, that's up to everyone's own judgment and whatnot. So,
and I hope that I present stories like that in the book without an agenda or anything. Like I don't feel like I wrap it up with like, hey, and Jesus did this and Jesus is the best. More just like, here's the thing I saw, super weird, don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. No, it definitely sounds like, I mean, just from you telling the story now, I'm not feeling like you're, pushing anyone in a certain direction. You're just saying,
okay.
This thing happened and I don't know.
Yeah.
It was strange. I don't really know how to explain it or how I even feel about it.
Yeah.
So,
and I think just to think about these things happening at these like hardcore shows, like, I mean, this wasn't during it was afterwards and stuff, but just not a world that I was aware existed within music for sure.
Right. Well, I got to dive more in to name dropping then. Seeking creative truth through trendy altruism and punk rock. Long title, but it sounds like this thing is chock full of amazing stories that that you've experienced. So where can people find the book?
Yeah, it's still just digital for the time being.
Okay.
So Amazon is your best bet. And again, yeah, looking up name dropping with my name, Jameson Ketchum, is the best way to find that. I've actually been asking people lately to review it too on Amazon. It's something that can be done, for free. You don't have to buy the book to review it or anything. But Amazon, yeah, is the best bet. And then I'll have some physical copies here down the road as well.
Okay, cool. And then is Godspeed podcast still going?
It is, yeah. I've had to pull back a little bit, obviously, in doing promo for the book and stuff, but we're coming up on 200 episodes here pretty soon. So, yeah, if anyone wants to check that out, Godspeed Podcast. It's a lot of musicians. Also have, thank you, yeah. Also have, it's a lot of musicians. Our episode that's up right now is Maddie Mullins from Memphis Mayfire. So musicians, authors, comics. Try to just do anybody that's creative that I'm interested in and that I think is kind of doing something a little bit different and standing out a bit.
Yeah. Well, that sounds awesome, man. So check that out. And then are you still offering publicity services too? Or have you kind of pulled back on that or?
Yeah, I've had to pull back too on that. The last thing I worked on was a friend's book. Lindsay Manfredi from the band Cold put out a book last year.
Yes,
and so I
remember that.
Yeah, so I did some work with her. That was the last big project, but it's nice to be able to say yes or say no to certain things and say yes to others when I have the time versus it being, a full-time gig that I gotta do all the time. So That's still, it's still on the table, but the book obviously is the biggest focus for now.
Okay, cool. Where's the best place people can find you online or even just like a link to the book? I know you said Amazon, but
Sure. Yeah, Amazon for the book, and then really my main hub for things has been Instagram. So it's a name dropping book, all one word. I just got back onto Twitter too. I was trying to like pare down to one social media, but then you realize you gotta be on everything. So I haven't started a TikTok yet.
I haven't either, and I'm getting closer and closer to giving in, to the whole TikTok thing, just because more and more people are doing it. So I'm like, well, I guess I got to do it too, So it's like, I feel like you just don't really have a choice with those things,
Yeah, I know I'll get on it. I think I have one to watch videos because everyone sends videos around, but the idea of making content for it is a little scary.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I got to do this too. It's like, I'm already doing all these other things. How am I going to find time to make, TikTok videos? It's like, I don't know.
I know. Photos are one thing, and then TikTok, you're like, well, now I have to be like an actor kind of and make funny things or interesting things. That's too much.
Yeah, exactly my thoughts. So I'm still trying to figure that all out in my brain. But that's awesome, man. And congratulations on, name dropping and
thank you.
And reaching almost 200 on Godspeed podcast. That's great. So
thank you so much.
So yeah, Jameson Ketchum, thanks so much for being on the show, man. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you so much. It means a lot. Thank you.
No problem. Have a great rest of the night.
You too.
Thanks. Later. All right, let's give Jameson another big round of applause, as Flight Club as well for being on the podcast tonight. Once again, Jameson's book, Name Dropping, can be found on Amazon currently. He said he'd be working on getting the physical copies, but for now you can read it digitally. And then also follow him on Instagram at Name Dropping Book. And then Flight Club, once again, their new record is out now via Open Your Ears Records. It's called Until the Sun Drowns. You can get physical copies of that, or you can stream it on Spotify or wherever you stream music if you just want to get an idea for the album. But I really think you're going to like it. So make sure you show them some love and support as well as our title sponsor, Pop Punk Takeout. Go to poppunktakeout.com and order your merch box today. Sign up for their monthly subscription service. Follow them on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram at Pop Punk Takeout. And then if you want to catch up on previous episodes before a new episode of Pop Punk and Pizza drops, you can go to poppunkpizzapod.com, listen to episodes there, or, find the links to all the other podcast platforms like Apple Podcasts. And if you could drop us a positive rating and review, I would truly, truly appreciate that. It really does go a long way. Also on our website, you can buy merch, find out how you can become a sponsor for the show, sign up for our mailing list, find out how you can submit music for your band, all that fun stuff, poppunkpizzapod.com. Our socials are also, it's the same handle, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at poppunkpizzapod. Hit me up there anytime. I'd be happy to talk with you. And then also we do have a Facebook group that I encourage you to join as well. It's just Pop Punk and Pizza Podcast. When you search it on Facebook, not only will our Facebook page pop up, but you'll see the private group that you can join as well. So thank you so much once again for being here. We stream live every single Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central Time on our Facebook, our YouTube, and our Twitch accounts. And coming up next Wednesday, which is going to be September 8th, we are going to be joined by a band called Don't Panic, and then famous skateboarder Steve Caballero is going to be joining us on the podcast. So I'm pretty stoked about that. So I will talk to you next week. Hope you're staying well. Hope you're staying healthy. And thank you, Brittany Edwards, chiming in. Says, great show. I'm going to watch it again with my brother. He just tuned in. And she says, happy 1st of September, y'all. All right. Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Hey, hello, it's nice to meet ya. Hey, come in and have a slice of pizza. Hey, hello, it's nice to meet ya. Hey, come in and have a slice of pizza.